Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Kathleen Corbet. I want to thank our senior warden, Dean Davis, thank the Academy, but I really, truly want to thank all of you, because the story I'm about to share with you really all comes from the graciousness and kindness of all of you here. And so we are eternally thankful. I'm just going to be brief. I want to focus on just a couple of highlights, and really in kind of four themes, and it'll be about 7 minutes altogether. The first I want to talk about is our financial health, and we'll take a look at that through the lens of our operating statement, our both operating income and expenses for 2017 relative to our budget. And then we'll take a look at the budget that we established for 2018 just at the end of the year with the approvals of the vestry, the executive committee, and now I'd like to share it all with you. Second thing I'd like to talk to you about is our financial strength. So we have our financial health through our operating statement. Our financial strength is evidenced by the foundation of our balance sheet, our assets, and I'll take you through those as well. Our financial resources, Father Peter mentioned a little bit about this. We are so grateful. This is not a one-person operation. This is, in fact, involves the volunteers of so many individuals representing the Finance Committee, the Endowment Committee, the Collections volunteers, the Vestry, the Outreach Commission, the Stewardship Committee, et cetera. All of these individuals really represent sort of my bosses, those who I get to share the information that I'll share with you today. And finally, we'll take a look at the road ahead. So just briefly, starting with our operating income statement and looking at our income. You've heard a lot of this news already, so I'll just highlight a number of features. First of all, the budget, when we established it at the beginning of 2017, we estimated it to be about $1.88 million. But there's 6 sources of income that came in over the course of 2017. Each of those led to actually creating a bit of a surplus as a result of outperforming what we expected in our budget. The first, which represents 3/4 of our income, are pledges received by all of you, coming from about 280 pledges. We're over, and you heard this from Dean, over 100 families actually over the course of the year offered gifts in excess of their annual pledges. And so that resulted in a 6% increase over our budget for a total of $1.5 million. Second component is actually plate collections. Every Sunday when we pass the plate and people contribute cash and coins, that came in at $36,000. That was 10% higher than we anticipated in our budget. Dean mentioned donations, which are not part of our annual stewardship. They include income coming from music and weddings and funerals, facility rentals. This year we added to our operating income statement also flower donations and gifts to the clergy discretionary fund. And those actually had been tracked separately, but now we really have consolidated all of the components of our income, and so we actually produced over $70,000 over our original budget as a result of that consolidation. Last 2 things I'll mention is our endowment and trust funds. They total $6.2 million, and I'll talk a minute about that in the balance sheet. But our general endowment, which includes support of our youth and our music ministries, also the rectory and housing endowment, and our outreach endowment funds, they contributed 5%, we took an annual draw of 5% from our endowment. Our endowment committee approved that. Going into 2018, we'll go back to our traditional 4% draw. We also, as expected, our Mayfair, what we took in for Mayfair actually matched what our budget was, and I'll say a little bit more about that. And then our interest income actually increased as we did some more longer-term planning with CDs in our general reserves fund. Looking at our operating expenses, tightly managed within that budget of $1.88 million. So much so, as Dean mentioned about Jill, that budget came in under our plan by 1%. 2/3 of our expenses come in the form of compensation of benefits for our clergy and staff, but other outflows include support of our diocesan outreach mission, printing and supplies, utilities, telephone and IT, insurance, and professional services. And each of these categories are less than 10% of the total. In reviewing our budget process, we recognized that certain segments were tracked separately and not accounted for in the original budget, such as flowers and outreach grants and donations. They, again, were very steadfastly tracked, but we thought we'd bring those in and take a look at them from an entire budget perspective. So we modified our reporting process, and you'll note here we wanted to align it with our audited financial statements. And so this indicates that $79,000 was paid out in the form of outreach grants and donations. So it brought total cash flows out in 2017 to $1.95 million. So let's take a look at the big picture. As a result of, as Father Peter said, the grace of God, your generosity, the good work of many, and our good fortune, $2.04 million in inflows from operating income, $1.95 million in outflows and operating expenses. We've generated a new budget for 2018, which will now have a small reserve of approximately $90,000, and that's going to provide a cushion for future unforeseen income shortfalls, deferred maintenance projects, and other unexpected expense items. So let's take a look at that budget. So this time, again, looking at the full, we did it from a bottoms-up planning, and we've included some things that we hadn't planned for in our previous budget. When we take a look at the full amount in terms of for 2018, we're expecting income coming in of $2.26 million. Again, that is a result of our 2018 annual stewardship pledges. You're going to hear more about that from Eric. And on the expense side, comp and benefits, we're actually projecting a flat comp and benefits number, not including the third clergy member. When you add, we also added a 3% increase in outreach grants in our diocesan mission. We've added, as Father Peter mentioned, our live streaming as to a new annual part of our new annual investment in reaching our parishioners over the internet. And additions to our annual clergy fund, which we've mentioned, the two gifts of $300,000. Those will be expected to be paid out over the course of 3 years, as that'll cover our new clergy comp and benefits when that individual is called to our parish. So the full budget and income, which also includes our Mayfair income and expenses. Again, we're looking at that at the full budget level because we actually see it. We actually look back at what we achieved in last May and apply it to this New Year's budget. So those are the data points that I'd like to share with you in terms of 2018's budget. I'd also like to give you a sense now of our financial health. As a result of, this is really measured as a foundation which underlies our operations. It's just under $15 million in total assets, the largest component of which is the size of our endowments and trusts, which total, as I mentioned, $6.2 million, and they increased in market value year over year by 11%, and that's after drawing, again, that 5% from our endowments of approximately $250,000. Property, building, and equipment has remained steady. That represents the land, our church buildings, the rectory, the cemetery, and that totals $5.7 million, or 38% of the total. Our capital campaign funds, the Empower the Parish funds, today stand at $1.8 million. That, of course, does not reflect pledges that have yet to be paid, but it does reflect the net of investments that we have made, the rectory, pledges to the endowment, and capital expenses for our, I'm missing the word now, for our Center for Ministry. The last two areas are our operating cash and general reserves. That's $1.2 million at the end of the year. That includes our preschool activity. Altogether, that's up 14%. A good portion of that increase is the fact that at the end of 2017, those who had made their pledges for 2018, many of them in an increase actually sent in their pledges, and so the cash value actually increased at the end of the year. Let me make one statement. I'm not showing the liabilities here because there are frankly very few. We prepaid our loan on the rectory at the beginning of 2017, so there was $450,000 outstanding. So we paid off the entire loan for the rectory. And so, again, increasing the financial strength of the organization as we move forward with no long-term debt. I want to just say a few words about the fact that this is a village that takes responsibility for all of our financial management. It includes the Finance Committee, the Endowment Committee. We have a group of volunteers that come every Monday to help with counting our collections. We have external service providers that are all fairly new within the last 18 months. eCratchit is our new accounting system, outsourced accounting service. Reynolds and Rowella are our new auditors for the first full year in 2017. We operated our first full year on Realm with our online data management. And we say thanks to all of our service providers, our banks, and endowment providers that you see listed here. Finally, in terms of our other boards, it obviously includes our Outreach Commission, Property Committee, our Preschool Board, our Stewardship Committee, the staff, and the vestry. All of these people are responsible for looking at and watching over the financial management of our church. And I am eternally grateful to all of you who participate in that. Finally, looking ahead, as we mentioned, we're really embarking this year of 2018 with very good footing. We were able to establish this operating income reserve as a result of our success in 2017. That helps us address any unforeseen income shortfalls, deferred buildings and maintenance expense, our new music program, and potentially other expenses in 2018. We also have, in addition, the gifts for the additional clergy. That helps reestablish the size of our clergy resource in 2018 and beyond. We will continue to conservatively manage expenses and maintain that balanced budget management. And then looking to our future, we're looking more at a long-range financial planning. This will be part of the Easter tides and the Pentecostal plans. Take a look at growth in our endowment, our outreach program, property and equipment, and looking forward, and this is going to help us be sustained throughout the years to come. I don't think we have enough time for Q&A, but I want to offer you the opportunity to reach out to me at any time. These materials are actually going to be available on our website if you want to go back and, along with my notes, if you have any questions, want to review, take a look, and if you'd like to make comments or ask me questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. Thank you once again. I really appreciate it.